Okay, welcome to the Automation Guild, where we get together to help each other create automation awesomeness. I'm just going to give us a few moments for people to join, but I'm really excited to have Microfocus joining us today. The biggest news I could find this week or the past few weeks is actually Microfocus, we'll find out more, they either bought out or they merged with HP, but now basically Microfocus owns all the HP test tools, is how I understand it. But I know we have lots of questions going on. If you're an automation engineer, if you're a current owner of HP products, what does that mean for you? Hopefully we're going to dive into all that. So get your questions in. If you have any comments, just put your questions in the comments, or you can hit me in Twitter at Automation Guild. So just do at Automation Guild, and I'll be looking at Twitter also. So just get your questions in. So Shane Evans from Microfocus joins the guild today to talk all about the microfocus-hpe-test-tool-merger into Microfocus. So let's get right into it. So I guess before we get started, could you just tell us a little bit more about if someone's a current owner of tools, what this means for them? Is there anything that changes? Is it a seamless type activity? What has to be done in order for them to make sure that all their updates are getting merged over? Or has this already been probably planned months in advance?
Months, yeah, absolutely. So we've first off, I want to say we're very excited about this. I'm coming from the Hewlett-Packard enterprise software side of the house, and prior to that, HP and Mercury and so on. And we're looking forward to this this sort of new era or new age for us in terms of the testing tools, the software products. There's bringing together an organization really that represents like 70 years of customer-centric innovation, over 40,000 customers worldwide, and really just a lot of market-leading experience there. So in terms of the question, customers don't have to do anything. There's not going to be a disruption in the support, the updates, the service that you're getting. I just came back from a week in Israel with our engineering team and really focusing on delivering on the strategy that we've been developing and honing for the last several years. So in terms of that roadmap, I don't expect customers to see any significant changes.
Awesome. So we did get a few questions, and one of the first questions we got was from Alex. And I'm sure you're going to get this all the time. Most companies grow by acquisitions, so a lot of times you end up having certain products that are similar to one another. So I believe at one time Microfocus acquired the Silk tools. So I guess he wants to know, does this change the product roadmap if someone's a load runner user, or are these tools going to merge? Is one going to win as I know you probably can't reveal all this, but is one going to win as this is the tool we're going to promote, or is it just all these things under one umbrella?
Well, for now, like I said, no significant changes. But when you look at like UFT versus Silk Test, or Performance Center versus or Load Runner, or Scrum Runner Load even versus Silk Performer, Quality Center, Silk Central, and so on, all of these questions pertain to the similar, ongoing support of the different suites. In terms of UFT and Silk Test, these are widely adopted, proven solutions that target the needs of the functional test automation for specific kind of market segments for GUI automation, API, and end-to-end. And the customers have chosen to use either UFT or Silk to increase their level of test automation and quality in the application delivery process. So we'll continue to support both solutions to keep and really focus on keeping our customer needs first. So similar strategies are in place for all of the similar sort of solutions where you might see some of that overlap. Of course, there are potential synergies down the road. So we're going to be looking at either leveraging similar IP or integrations across the portfolio to really make things richer and stronger, rather than trying to eliminate anything.
I know every year there used to be HP Discover, there used to be Mercury World. Is there a Microfocus World where people can go? I guess that'd be the best way probably now to really get entrenched into what the culture is like at Microfocus and what the roadmap is going to be going down the road.
Yeah, and we do have some events in the pipeline. Actually, next week we're going to be in Las Vegas and New York for customer forums in the Americas. We had a similar event in EMEA a few months ago, and more planned after that. So you'll start to see some of this sort of combined discussions and roadmaps in these events. No word yet on kind of a discover scale type of event, but it is something that is being discussed and planning what is the best approach to that. But unfortunately, I don't have a definite when can we see like a big Micro Focus software event.
So you did mention earlier that you did visit the team in Israel. So this is the same team, I think, that was actually used to be Mercury. They were acquired by HP. Now they're part of Micro Focus. So it's important, I think, to point out that you're not losing anyone. You're getting the same exact team that's been on these products all along. So it should be just pretty much seamless from a back-end point of view if you're using the product. Patches, they probably have plans that are still in place that they put in with HP. Does anything change with their roadmaps from when they were HP, or everything stays the same as far as you know as of now?
Not at all. And really, when you look at any sort of product acquisition, and I've been through a few of these in my career, you're really buying a few things, right? You're acquiring the people, of course, unless it's a pure technology buy. And in this case, it's not. It's the whole company, business, people, and so on. You're acquiring the IP, the technology itself, the customer base. And in this case, the roadmap that we had built up was a really strong part of that acquisition decision. So nothing changes there. If anything, we're looking at how do we augment the strategy by bringing in the teams that are, like I said, between like UFT and Silk, for example. We had meetings just last week with the Silk team, and they've got ideas and we've got ideas, and a lot of them are closely aligned. So we're already talking about how do we bring these two worlds together for the benefit of both of our customers. Not just how can we move one over to the other, but if you're a Silk customer, how can you leverage what we're doing in UFT and vice versa?
Absolutely. So I will admit, I was at a Selenium conference a few months ago before the merger actually happened. It was kind of weird. You had HP there, and you also had Micro Focus there, one pushing Silk and one pushing. So yes. I'm just curious to know, it's two different cultures. You're all merging into one. What kind of plans does it take in general when you acquire a business, in your point of view, that you think keeps things running smoothly to get those cultures as one now rather than as foes? They're now on the same team.
Yeah, interesting. So, they definitely played it in the same space for many years, but I'd hesitate to say we were, direct foes in any way. Of course, there's plenty of room in the market for different kind of niche solutions, and although there's some overlap there, like I said, everyone's just really excited. So when we talked about the Selenium conference that's coming up in Berlin in a few weeks' time, we're going to have one presence. We're not going to have Micro Focus and then Micro Focus down the hall, for example.
Right.
And how can we expose what both of the teams were doing, but again, in that kind of combined way. And I see that Robert has actually joined. If you have anything to add on the synergies there, Robert.
Hey, good morning. I sent you an email earlier on the week introducing myself, but if you don't mind, I'll take 10 seconds. Sure. I'm the product marketing manager in the new Micro Focus for continuous testing and DevOps. So I'm working closely with Shane and focusing a lot on the lean FT, the code-driven testing side of things, and building that out. I'm also the point man for automation guilds. So that's where I think we'll be talking a little bit in the coming weeks and months.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. So I think we have one booth together in the Selenium comp, but when we go to Star West in October, I don't want you to be disappointed when you see we have two booths again. But going back, some of this planning for these events from the marketing perspective takes place well before the actual merger occurs, right? And legally, we weren't allowed to communicate with each other until September 1st. So there was a lot of, as much conversation as we could be having, but I could not talk to my peers on the legacy Micro Focus side to work out and coordinate our messaging there. That said, I've been involved now in a little bit of planning, And from their perspective and the story they tell and the story that we tell, we really do approach the world and approach the market a little bit differently. We tend to be focused on the enterprise, the enterprise business, top 5,000 type customers, and they sit a little bit below us in their target. So that has been reflected in their product portfolio and in R&D and the roadmaps for the last few years, and our heritage as well has been reflected in our portfolio. So I don't think that there's as much of a delta, as much of a gap there as there needs to be, but there certainly needs to be some more communication happening. I'm looking forward to this afternoon. I get to go downtown and meet some of my peers at the Microfocus office, which is about 20 miles closer to my house than the old HPE office. So I couldn't be happier with this. That's
awesome. So is there anything you could share with us that is maybe on the horizon that you guys may be thinking about doing that, may not be official, but really because now there are two companies, maybe that you're able to combine your powers for good for one thing that maybe you have on your roadmap?
I'll explain.
Yeah. So like I said, the discussions that we had with the Silk team last week, we kind of showed some of the things that we were working on. And like Robert said, we could not communicate a lot of this beforehand. So only public facing information was available to both teams up until the September 1st date. So we did some roadmap sharing, and there was immediate synergies that we identified. So I don't know if you're familiar with our current beta offering of StormRunner Functional.
Yep.
It's a cloud testing solution for test execution, obviously in the cloud, where I can take any script from UFT, LeanFT, Selenium, and just scale it up to any browsers, operating systems, and mobile devices that I need on the fly. So quick win there. We're going to look at how can we execute the Silk tests in that same platform and extend the Silk environment to be able to burst into that solution the same way that UFT or LeanFT would today. And similarly, they're doing things with Selenium. We're doing things with Selenium. We're actually a sponsor of the Selenium project now. It hasn't been officially posted on the seleniumhq.org website, but it will be very soon. And the good thing there is they're actually doing things that we hadn't done. So obviously put two and two together, and we've got a much stronger solution in terms of increasing the power of Selenium.
Very cool. So guys, we have some comments in the chat on YouTube, so I'd like to hit a few of them. And like I said, they just come in, so I'm going to ask them. So the first one is licensing. And like I said, this is all new, but I know that before that LeanFT was being projected as a low cost solution that was in line with some other products and then the price increased. But they're asking now that you've been acquired by Micro Focus, is there any change to licensing or fees or pricing that you see coming up, or is it just too early to tell?
So just generally speaking, we're always looking at optimizing our licensing for our customers. For example, in the last year and a half, we introduced some different term licensing, as well as the test execution, or what do we call it? So just the execution license for UFT, so that you don't have to have the full designer
runtime engine.
Runtime engine. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got off a 15-hour flight, so a little bit fuzzy. And really making it more easily consumable by our customers. The LeanFT, for example, running up to four concurrent tests with a single license. And so we'll continue to do that. Of course, we want to make sure that it's not just affordable, but that it makes sense for the value that you're getting. And you'll see some further simplifications as we release StormRunner Functional down the road, and additional kind of packaging solutions between the various products. But nothing, just to answer the question more directly, nothing specific to we have UFT and Silk how can we license it so that you do both or something like that. There's no immediate impact to the licensing as a result of the merge.
Great. So we do have a question from Greg. He wants to know, and I'm sure this is going to happen, rebranding. Are you going to rename the product set like Silk Lean or something? Anything you could give us for that?
So there's a lot of discussion around branding, a lot of really great things that are being tossed around. Obviously, anything I say in the next 15 seconds is speculation. Everything from, hey, what about using the Mercury brand again, because technically we still own it, to just simply rebranding everything as Microfocus. So Microfocus UFT, Microfocus Load Runner, and so on. So for now, that's kind of the placeholder as we're have moved away, but all the products that are currently branded HP in the next year, you'll see kind of a facelift there with the new brand coloring, the fonts, and so on. But beyond that, having like an umbrella brand for the products has not yet been finalized.
Awesome. So I guess this is another question. For me, I'll be honest, I liked it when Mercury was Mercury before they were bought up by HP, just because Mercury was a test tool company. And when we went to the conference, it was just test tooling. It was all about testing. And then they went to HP and you went to the conference, like servers, all this stuff. It's like, and they had this little section just for testing. So could you just tell us a little bit more about Microfocus? Is Microfocus consider themselves a testing company? And if so, I would think that would kind of help the culture in my eyes. Don't know. Thoughts on that?
So we're a software company now, and like I said, this is what we're really, really excited about. There is a pretty broad and deep portfolio there, everything from the testing products to operations automation to SUSE Linux. But the sort of testing portfolio, if you will, is broken out into a few areas, and that's the lifecycle management, functional testing, performance testing, security, and mobile and lifecycle virtualization. And that's kind of where you'll see in an event, for example, everything combined into one sort of corner or event in itself, like the ones that I mentioned in Vegas and New York next week. That's just the product or solution areas that I just mentioned. Even going into like a major software conference, the best thing is that it's just software and they're all kind of interconnected. For us, moving away from a hardware-centric organization is just really a breath of fresh air there.
Great. So another question someone has in the chat is, which is a positive development. Before it used to be open source tools against vendor tools. And what I've seen lately is vendor tools embracing open source, especially with HPE, now Microfocus embracing, with LeanFT, you can run Selenium in there. It just mostly supports now open source. So it's rather than us against them, it's one, you're adding functionality on top of Selenium that you don't have to develop from scratch. So does Microfocus have that same philosophy? Is that something you see continuing, this division of pretty much us versus them now is just going to be, it's a test tool and here's some benefit we have that you get because we do support Selenium. It's not, don't use Selenium. It's here's some extra benefit you get from using us with Selenium.
Absolutely. And you could see some of that in the Silk portfolio, for example. They have a recorder for Selenium. That's a free recorder you can download today. So we will definitely continue to embrace and extend. I think there's a lot of value that we can add on top of the open source solutions. Taking 20 years of experience, there's a lot of things that we've been doing to help customers that we can apply to that world of open source APIs and even going as far as making some of our own kind of internal IP open to the community to extend themselves in that same sort of extending of the open source solutions. I can't get specific on anything there, but we do have big plans in terms of what we can offer the community and how we can leverage some of our experience there.
Well, I think you actually just blew some people's minds there. So I look forward to hear more about that because I think that would be kind of awesome. Having almost like a open source, not HP, but microfocus, lean FT type thing that we can contribute to.
Yeah, I think you'll be happy to see what we're doing there. I can't get specific. I want to say times, but I can't.
That's all the comments we have coming in so far. Is there anything you want to leave with the Guild before we go that you want to share with us? What you see as the future, or either a tip, tool, or technique that you think is going to benefit people viewing this now?
One thing I think we've done in the last couple of years that I want to make sure that the community is aware of is, there's a lot of great information on places like techbeacon.com,
yep.
Our own blogs, and in the community, of course. There's the All About the Apps blog. So if you go to microfocus.com/ADM, you'll find links to some of these areas there. But TechBeacon, for example, it's just a great repository of kind of thought leadership, and we get guest writers from all over the place. You're not going to find a product pitch anywhere on those pages, and they've got a new area called TechBeacon Learn, where we're trying to actually give real how-to information rather than a product pitch. It's trying to take everything that we've learned over, again, a couple of decades of leading in this space, and we want to give that to the community. And this is separate from the product piece. So there's that. The online help, I think, is a great resource. Whereas a couple of years ago, and this is, I know, a big criticism in the testing world, is everything was gated. You had to have a support contract. That's no longer the case. Everything's online. Everything's open and accessible. And if you're not getting what you need, there's ways to reach out to us directly, and we'll get you what you need quickly.
So I just definitely want to agree with you there. I am a contributor to TechBeacon, and that's one thing that I've been impressed with. They haven't pushed me to be HP specific at all, and actually they frown on it. And I know we actually have writers here on YouTube that are watching now, like Greg, that have been writing for TechBeacon, so it's a great resource. I also want to, once again, say I agree with you on the getting rid of the gated community. If you go to LeanFT, what they started doing is you actually have code examples there. You could just go to the website. You don't have to log in with your SAD number. Hopefully you change that name. It's not SAD, it's SAID. But anyway, I used to call it SAD. But I'm kind of excited about this. So thank you so much for joining us today. This is a new format, and I think this is actually, you guys, the first guest on the Automation Guild show. And thank you so much for contributing and joining us today.
Thank you, Joe, for having us. And I'd love to come by anytime.
Awesome. I'm going to hold you to that. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Cheers. That is for the interview with the HPE microfocus merger. As you could tell, it sounds like it's going to be, nothing's really going to change if you're currently an HP user or product. Your licensing is going to stay the same as of now. Everything stays the same. It should be seamless. If you have any issues, like I said, they're very proactive. So you could probably just hit up the person that's handling your account, and I'm sure it's going to be no issues. My company is a bigger company. They use the tools, and I haven't seen any issues. So, like I said, it should be a non-issue, and I think it's actually kind of exciting. It's going to be more a software company again. I'm kind of older, as you could tell by the gray in my beard. And I'm telling you, Mercury World was awesome, and it's what got me into automation. So I'm kind of getting excited by this because I think it's going to be almost the same kind of vibe, hopefully, with the merger of the two. So it looks like that's it we have for comments. Thank you once again for joining the Automation Guild show. As always, test everything to keep the good. And if you have a comment, tip, tool, or technique you'd like to share with the Guild, head on over to automationguild.com/voice, and you can leave a message, and I will play it back in a future episode. So thank you so much for joining. Catch you next time. Cheers.